flesh and I am bone. Rise up, ting ting, like glitter and gold. Like glitter and gold.
Hello, it's Smiggle from Darkreath. I'm doing my own video today, where I'm going to look at the lore, history, and whatnot that went into the design of certain frames. First up, we're going to look at Nezha. Nezha is a character from Chinese mythology, and this is what the Warframe is based on. The story of Nezha is an interesting one, so let's get into it. Nezha's mother spent 42 months pregnant before giving birth to a little ball of flesh, which the father, Li Jing, rightly thought was a demon, and tried to kill the demon. Upon hitting this ball of flesh with his sword, the ball split open and allowed an infant Nezha to spring out. And having skipped the awkward baby phase, Nezha was already able to walk and talk, and he also came out wrapped in a red silk scarf. Nezha was quickly taken up by a teacher, Tai Yi, which the Feng Sheng Bang, the book about the gods, says was the reincarnated form of the first emperor of the Shang dynasty. This teacher gave Nezha a gift in the form of the cosmic wheel. Now one day Nezha was taking a bath in the sea, and unbeknownst to him, his scarf and wheel were causing huge ripples that disturbed the castle of Ao Guang. Ao Guang was the Dragon King, and he used to be a good king, until he discovered that humans tasted rather good. Having recently finished snacking upon some poor sailors, he was having a nap, and the noise that Nezha was causing had stopped him getting any sleep, so he was not a happy Dragon King. He sent a scout to investigate what was going on, and upon seeing the young Nezha, the scout confronted him, but being a typical disrespectful youth, Nezha answered the scout and called him a strange beast. So the scout tried to kill him, and to fend off this angry scout, Nezha threw his wheel, which he kept on his wrist as a bracelet, and not realizing it was in fact a lethal weapon, instantly killed the scout. Having dealt with business, Nezha returned to bathing. Ao Guang was pissed, understandably, so he sent his third son, Ao Bing, off to investigate. Ao Bing was a rain god, but due to his father's corruption, had recently given up with the whole rain thing. Instead was either flooding towns, causing droughts, and generally being a bit of a nuisance. Ao Bing arrived at the beach where Nezha was, and called him out. When questioned, Nezha absent-mindedly said, "I could not help it, he just died." This didn't sit well with Ao Bing, who decided to try and kill Nezha, because that worked so well for the scout. Nezha said, "Please stop, I don't even know who you are," to which Ao Bing responded with his full title, Prince Ao Bing, third son, yada 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 yada. Nezha thought this arrogant, so said, "I think you're arrogant. Sod off or I'll kill you and your father as well," because Nezha was a bit ballsy and didn't really care. You can imagine this didn't sit well with the god, who lunged at Nezha. Nezha hit him with his scarf, and then hit him with the bracelet, killing him. And being dead, Ao Bing returned to his original form, which was a huge dragon. And having not already caused enough trouble, Nezha decided to take the dragon's tendons as a gift for his father, to make a new bow. When Ao Guang found this out, he was a bit upset, and rushed off to confront Li Jing, Nezha's dad, and have a bit of a go. Not knowing about the drama that went down, Li Jing claimed his son could not possibly have done this, so went to fetch him, discovering that it was in fact his son Nezha that had done all of this. Li Jing told Nezha he needed to apologize and offer the tendons to Ao Guang, who did not think that receiving his dead son's tendons was a good apology. He said he was going to report Nezha and his dad to the Jade Emperor for being mean, killing his son and his scout. Nezha's parents were a bit upset, so Nezha sought his teacher's advice on what to do. His teacher drew a special invisibility spell on Nezha's chest and sent him off to confront the Dragon King. Nezha snuck up upon Ao Guang outside the Emperor's temple and battered him a bit, having him transform into a little snake he could carry back to his father. He showed the snake to his father, which turned into an angry and hurt Ao Guang. Ao Guang said he was going to get his brothers and get them to tell the Emperor too, so the situation had gotten worse. Nezha's parents were a little bit more upset, so Nezha took himself on a walk to cool off. Whilst on this walk, he saw a nice bow and arrow, He didn't know it, but this bow was the cosmic bow that came with heaven-quaking arrows, which no one was able to lift. For a bit of a giggle, Nezha fired an arrow into the sky, where it killed someone. We're seeing a bit of a pattern. The person killed by this arrow happened to be a disciple of Madame Rocky, a powerful spectre that came from a rock. Madame Rocky was a bit upset by this, a bit angry, and she confronted Li Jing, once again. Li Jing had no idea what had happened and went back to his home to look into it. He knew it was probably Nezha. Nezha admitted it was probably him. Li Jing took Nezha to Madame Rocky's cave, but Nezha did not want to be punished, so thinking quickly, threw his magical ring at the first person to come out of the cave, and seriously hurt her. Madame Rocky came out of the cave hearing the screams, and found a second of her disciples on the floor, injured by Nezha. She was a bit upset by this, so Nezha, resorting to his ever faithful trick, threw his ring at Madame Rocky, who caught it, taking Nezha by surprise. He tried to hit her with his scarf. That had worked before, but Madame Rocky caught that too, so Nezha had no special weapons left. He fled back to his master, who tried to handle the situation peacefully, but Madame Rocky wasn't having any of it, so tried to kill his master too. The master said, "Good guys don't worry about bad gals," and that is a translation from the book. That's not me trying to be funny. Before rendering the scarf and bracelet useless, and trapping Madame Rocky in a net and turning her back into her original rock form. Having watched all of this, Nezha wanted a net for himself, but the master decided that just 2 lethal weapons was enough for him. Whilst this had been going on, the 4 Dragon Kings had gone to the Emperor and had been sent to get Li Jing to punish him for Nezha's crimes. Nezha returned and offered his own life should his parents be saved, and Ao Guang, seeing the noble sacrifice as a good idea, agreed. But being eternal, Nezha wasn't done yet. He came to his mother in a dream and asked her to build a temple for him, so that he could regain his body through lots of offerings. This temple became very popular, because Nezha responded to every prayer, so word quickly spread to his father Li Jing, who, still sore after all the trouble, had the temple burned. Nezha's spirit went to his teacher and complained. Their plan had been ruined, so the teacher constructed a body out of lotus flowers, and just like magic, Nezha was reborn in a new body. The teacher gave Nezha a fire-tipped spear, returned to him his ring and scarf, and also gave to him the wind-fire wheels. So Nezha, upset by his father, pursued him, fighting his brother and attempting to fight 2 other teachers along the way, before fighting his magic-infused father, who he couldn't beat. Now we know the story of Nezha, let's look at how the Warframe abilities link to the story of Nezha. So first up we've got the Fire Walker, blaze a trail of flames. I think this is meant to be the wind fire wheels, because he gets the speed increase, and from the story the wind fire wheels gave him the speed to catch up to his father when he was trying to chase after him. His second ability is the blazing chakram, which can, as you can see, hurl a flaming ring. That's quite obviously his wheel, his ring, that he throws with and kills people in his story. But in the story there's no ability to teleport, or at least not in that particular story which I just recanted. His third ability, Warding Halo. That comes from, I think, from how the Chinese perceive Nezha, as they think he is a protection deity. So it makes sense that he has an ability that allows him to protect himself, and with the augment mod, protect his teammates. And finally, the Divine Spears. This is his fire-tipped spear. The ability to impale every enemy on a spear around him. And it looks kind of fiery, as you can see with the orange colour shown in the graphics. It looks like fire, a fire-tipped spear. But they are his main abilities. There's no reference to a scarf. Now the scarf may be based on his earmuffs, fancy earmuffs based on the model, but I'm not too sure about that. But as you can see from the model, they've done a really good job of actually making Nezha look like the lore builds him. The only thing is the windfire wheels aren't really wheels like skates, but overall they've done a good job. Because there's another thing is, in Chinese lore and depictions and paintings, Nezha's always shown to be a young boy. That's how he is in all the stories. And I think they've done a good job of making Nezha like a young, jovial, childlike frame, especially with how small he is. Because it wouldn't make sense for him to be the size of Atlas or a big hulking brute when he's meant to be this childish, playful frame. Thanks for watching my MythosFrame of Nezha. Come back next time when I'm going to look at Wukong.